headaches. You feel unusual body sensations. Things are just not feeling right. And you tell yourself, you know what, I'll check it out next week. And a week turns into 2, turns into a month. And before you know it, your body is trying to tell you that something is wrong and you don't listen. Welcome to In and Out of Your Mind on WeTV, and I'm your host, Tina Brigley. Today's guest had that same experience where something was not right, but she was really busy and didn't take time right away to go to the doctor. Lynn McLaughlin is a retired administrator. She's a busy, active mom, the author of Steering Through It, and a survivor of a brain tumor. So thank you for being here, Lynn. Your story, I feel, can really save a life today. So can you tell us what that was like for you to hear that you had a brain tumor?
Certainly. So I would say up to a year and a half before the actual diagnosis, I was having symptoms and explaining them away. That was the year I turned 50, and I had been promoted to a supervisory position at work. So, you know, every time something happened that was a little bit odd, I'd say, oh, it's just because, oh, it's the learning curve, oh, and make excuses. And so it started with tinnitus. I just had tinnitus in my left side, and okay, so you just get used to having noise in your head all the time. It was not something I was used to, but certainly just explained that one away too. And then I would say the next symptom was starting to have periods of dizziness, really lightheadedness, where I'd have to sit down and it would pass, and I would say, oh, I haven't eaten enough. I need to go get some. I need to go get a beverage, or a tea or something like that, right? And then it started to progress where I had really overwhelming levels of fatigue, to the point where, 3 children at home, grade 9, grade 10. Their oldest was in university at that time. 2 full-time working parents, you explain things, right? So, I was tired because it was just so busy all the time. And then the headaches started, and I'm not someone who's had headaches. I didn't have that experience. And they were becoming more regular and more regular. And I saw my optometrist for a regular eye appointment, and he recommended I go see my family doctor. Did I go? No, again, I didn't go.
How many people can relate to that, right? Go to your doctor. Yeah.
Your introduction was perfect. I'll get to that. And then when I started waking up in the morning with some really intense headaches, that's when I did go see my family doctor, who scheduled an MRI for me, which was a pretty quick turnaround before I had that MRI. And that's the day I sat up from the MRI and was told to go to the emergency room department immediately. I wasn't stupid. I knew I was about to receive some pretty scary news, and we were sitting there with all the, it could be, what it could be, calm down. And it's really hard to describe that moment in time when I was told. So you're in the emergency room department, and you've got curtains all around you, and there's flutter and people and diagnoses over here and people talking over there, and it's just, and I remember the doctor when she walked in the room. She had my chart, and she said, I'm sorry to tell you, but you have a brain tumor. And it was almost like, and again, I can't really find the words, but everything froze. There was nothing else happening except her in front of me and me looking directly at her, and I smiled. I actually smiled, and I said, you're telling me I have a brain tumor? And I said that 3 times, smiling at this woman. And then the world started to flow, and it was just, that's the moment when my life just stopped. You know that old cliche, a moment in time, and time stopped.
And I mean, you were very active in the community, active in your job. You had a very high-profile job, and you were not the type of person that could slow down easily. So to be hit with something like that, the news of all news, it's, I can imagine, like, the viewers that are watching, I'm sure there's somebody that's watching right now that has had a similar experience where the world literally stopped. So in that moment, you shared with me, your mom gave you some really great advice growing up. She said, don't fret over things that you don't have control over. Yeah. How did her words help you? Maybe in that moment and after the moment has passed.
Well, that moment took a long time to get through. It was probably an hour or so before, all the blood work, and I had to start medication immediately. My brain had actually shifted almost a full centimeter because of the swelling. So started on steroids right away to shrink the edema, on anti-seizure medication. I was literally a walking death trap. So the first decision was I need to talk to my husband. Waited till I got out to the car. We had the conversation. I got some control over myself, and of course I was alone. He was at home when I had the diagnosis. And then I knew the appointment with the neurosurgeon was just 5 days away. So what could I do in those 5 days rather than panic and get caught up in that, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Because there are things you have control over and there's things that you don't.
Right.
I have no control over the fact that I have a brain tumor and I don't know what kind it is right now. I have no control over the fact that I'm going to see a neurosurgeon in 5 days, but what do I have control over? So that night, I started journaling. And journaling wasn't new to me. I'd done it as a teenager, and actually I started it up again as an adult, and when my youngest was born, it ended.
Yeah, yep, that's what happened.
Obviously, and so it was natural for me to, this time it was on a computer, so that night, because of the steroids, I was only sleeping 4 hours at a time, right? I was researching, I was online, I was gathering information, I was writing my questions so I could be prepared for that appointment 5 days later. And we had decided not to tell our children until that appointment occurred so we would have more information. So what could I do at that moment in time to take control? And that was my mindset all the way through.
Right.
After the meeting with the neurosurgeon, all right, he's saying I've got to have a craniotomy. What is a craniotomy?
Yeah.
You know, do the research. Am I going to have a second opinion? Yes, I have control over that.
Yeah.
I don't have any control over what's going to happen that day, that 8-hour surgery or 9-hour surgery with that medical team. I have no control over that in any way, shape, or form.
And mindset, right, is so important because a lot of times when we get this devastating news, we want to like just curl up and quit and give up. And, you know, some people just lay down and say, that's it, I'm done, I'm over. And in your situation, your mindset, your journaling, who you decided to become in that moment helped you to overcome such a traumatic experience.
Absolutely.
And that strength is what carries us, I think, when we are given this devastating news. So now there are viewers out there that, I mean, I don't want to like shock people or make them think, oh, if you have a headache, run to the doctor.
No, not at all.
But, you know, there are people that are avoiding going to the doctor, putting things off. Quickly, can you give us 3 takeaways that you can really leave them with so that they can really take action for their life?
Well, it's if you have symptoms that are different, that are ongoing over a period of time, you really need to go and check them out. Don't get caught up on the should have, could have, would have. If I had done this, then things would look different. If I had gone sooner, I would have, from my perspective, I would have different options. Focus on what you can do now, what you can take control over now, and don't get caught up on if, for example, if I wake up from the surgery and I can't speak, and you put yourself in a panic. No, if you wake up from the surgery and you can't speak, you're going to have therapy and you will learn to speak again. If you wake up and you can't walk, you will have therapy and you will learn to walk again. You have to believe.
So change your story. You can have, you know, a victimizing story, or you can have an empowering story. You're like, my story is going to be empowering. And you are continuing to empower others to steer through anything in life, right? So thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you sharing because I know your story will save a life. So, and I want to thank you for watching, and I really want to encourage you to take action. If something doesn't feel right in your body is the best scientific laboratory around. So pay attention and take action. Okay, that's the best takeaway. Take action for your life. Thank you for watching. I want to give a huge shout out to Mackenzie and Sam and Nicole at Ryan's Mess, who provided the clothes for this show today, and Nicole Talbot for doing my hair. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. And thank you for watching. I'll see you next week on In and Out of Your Mind on WeTV.